Hey guys, what's up? Shadowlands back with another commentary. Today I actually just wanted to go over this new game, Destiny, that's out. I have some gameplay of it here for you guys. It's actually pretty kick-ass. The ending especially is really nice. But anyway, I wanted to go over this game. It's a really fun game. I haven't played a console game in forever, since GameCube and Smash Bros was a thing, so it's been quite a while. But other than that, this is a brilliant game. I give it like a 9.5, if not 10 out of 10. This game is absolutely amazing. So some stuff about it that's really great, for one. The system that it makes it an RPG and not just a shooter. We haven't seen this, actually, I don't even know the last time I saw this. Actually, I don't think I've ever seen this, so let's just get right into this. It's an RPG as well as a shooter. You cannot treat this like Call of Duty or Battlefield. You can't just run around and shoot shit. You have to actually go complete the missions, do the quests and stuff, and they're actually fun. A lot of times when you're forced into that kind of stuff, it's not very fun. But you have like level up systems in this. Like Call of Duty, yeah, there's the rank ups, and oh, you unlock a new gun. This game is completely different. The armor you can equip, the way you can upgrade things, the classes and subclasses you have access to as a character change completely based on what level you are. You can get a whole bunch of different classes of items. I believe there's like normal weapons, uncommon weapons, rare items, and legendary or something like that. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of different items that you can get, and there's tons of different guns. The great part is any class that you play as, I believe there's 3, Titan, Warlock, and Hunter. I'm playing as a Hunter. I love my Hunter. My brother's playing as a Titan right now, but each class has different stat bases, but they can all use the same types of weapons. Hunters, they all have like different tiny little things that are different. Not only are their stats different, like how much armor and stuff do you have, how fast do you recover HP, all that kinds of stuff. But even the jumping is different. Like with, like for example, with a Hunter, to jump the highest, you have to jump once and then wait a second and then press it again for your second double jump, and that will get you the highest. Whereas if he plays a different class, I believe it's the Warlock, you just double tap it as fast as you can and you'll jump the highest and you'll hover a little ways, or something like that. Anyway, it's really interesting. The classes are very diverse, very different, although not one of them has a massive advantage over the other. Now, they also have subclasses, like the Hunter, for example. This is the only one I've unlocked, by the way, so this is the only one I really know about. I know the Warlock has one called Sunsinger that does something different. I don't really know what it does. But the Hunter has a subclass called Blade Dancer, where you have a couple of blades, and it literally looks like you're just dancing around the arena, or dancing around the stage, just literally just slashing everything in your way, and it looks totally awesome, I'm not gonna lie. That was completely a voice crack right there, but I'm not gonna lie, it looks totally awesome. And there are not many stages yet where you can run around with a melee weapon and just destroy things. There's one level early on where you get this sword and you're supposed to run around and just crush everything, and it looks like you're playing God of War or Dynasty Warriors or something. It looks totally awesome, but this game is a lot of fun. The weapon variety, I think, is something that they're going to work on in future patches. This game was in development for over 5 years, so you know there's a lot to it. They really thought this game very well through. The graphics, for one, are beautiful. Like, not just what you're fighting, like, right in front of you, but if you look off into the distance or the night sky or something, it looks realistic. And there was this one part on planet Venus. You jump between planets, I'll get to that in a minute, but on Venus, where I was looking into the sky, and I was like, I don't even want to play the game right now. I just kind of want to look at the scenery out here. It's so complex and diverse. You see nothing the same for miles, and it's just like, it captures you. It wants you to, the artwork wants you to look at it. It's beautiful. But now I kind of want to go on to the whole point of planets, because with artwork you're going to have a whole bunch of different, you know, things, planets. In this case we have different levels where you can go to different planets and play different stages and strikes, they call them. There's the campaign, main story mode stuff. Then there's these strikes. There's also PvP, but there's a special arena for that. I kind of think they should make it so PvP can be done in the main realms as well, but you can't do that right now. Oh well, I think that's something they might consider in the future, but that's just my opinion. Anyway, so the planets. You start off on Earth, and you're fighting these things called the Fallen. There's 3 races. There's the Vex, the Fallen, and something else that comes up on Mars. I forgot what their name is. It's like Cabelos or something like that. I don't know. It's a really weird name. Cabos. Anyway. So, Earth, you're fighting these things called the Fallen. They're these, like, alien-like creatures, and you would think these are, like, the main bad guys of the game, because they get brought up so often. They're, like, the main people that fight the humans, and they're the main people that, like, fight back and try to kill you guys. So, you'll see a lot of them, and they will be on every planet you go to. Next up is Venus. Venus is actually covered in forests. You would never guess that by looking at it. The sky is yellow, yes, but once you get down there, it looks like it's some, like, it's got machinery and stuff in it, so it's kind of like if you mix, like, prehistoric dinosaur times with, like, futuristic buildings and stuff. It's really weird, but it's really cool, too. You see jungle growth all over the place. and you start meeting these aliens called the Vex. You get these things that look like golems, sort of. They don't look like the Fallen. The Fallen actually are kind of humanoid sort of things, but you get these robotic things called the Vex that are like bio-robots, and they're really fun to fight. You can't shoot them in the head. Shooting them in the head actually makes them run faster at you and hurt you more, so shooting them in the head is a very bad thing. You want to shoot them right in the gut. When you hit them in the gut, it does like critical damage or something, so like back to the whole RPG thing, depending on where you shoot people, you'll get criticals. Now, that's also similar to other FPS games, but it's more similar this game with RPGs, because you actually have, like, critical damage, like, oh, you'll do 3 times damage if you hit him in the critical area. And it's always some kind of very obvious thing, like Fallen, you shoot him in the head. And same with those other, like, Cabos things, but those are a little bit more difficult to beat. Like, oh, now let's move on to Mars now. So Mars is kind of as you would picture. It's like a barren desert wasteland. A lot of technology laying around, but it's kind of like, you can guess the way they talk about it in the story. The technology on Mars is kind of outdated and not really used anymore, so it's just kind of there. No one really knows why the aliens are just kind of incompetent as far as technology is concerned, I guess. Like, even your Ghost, the little guy that walks around with you or like flies around with you and does all your techie stuff for you and talks to you a lot, he actually looks at their technology and says, wow, that was way easier than I thought. That was really stupid. Why did they make this? This is almost completely useless. And a whole bunch of comments like that. So he's kind of, and not to mention, I'm sorry to interrupt this, guys, but your Ghost is voiced by Peter Dinklage, which is completely awesome. That's just cool. I mean, I love Game of Thrones, so I know that guy pretty well. But anyway, back to the actual game. Mars is really interesting. It's by far the hardest. Those things really are gods of war. You have to, they will like put up these shields, and they have shitloads of HP, so you got to worry about that too. But what they'll do is they'll put up a shield and stick a tiny little arm out in the upper left-hand corner, and you can't hurt them unless you shoot them from behind, or you hit that little tiny arm, and they'll like freak out, lower their shields, and then you can shoot them a few times. But you'll probably have to do that 2 or 3 times per enemy unless you're a higher level, because they have massive crap tons of HP, and their heads are super tiny, and that's their weak spot. So the Fallen are actually pretty easy to get headshots in. If you just aim anywhere in the upper half of their body, you're going to get a headshot and get criticals, and they'll fall like flies. But these things are difficult to beat. Anyway, more about this game that's a lot of fun. Once you finish your mission or whatever you're doing, there's lots of different kinds. There's patrols, there's the main campaign, there's these strike things you can go on where you go out to kill a specific boss with some other friends. It's like a fire team thing, sort of. But when you're done with all that, you go back to the tower, which is on this thing, or near the thing called the Traveler back on Earth. It's like this planet-type thing that, it thinks like a human, like, it's actually like this all-knowing type god thing, I don't know. And all these aliens are trying to destroy it or something like that. So, anyway, when you go back there, you can do a bunch of things that actually seem like an RPG, like when you go back to your hometown, or like you can go back to a place and like forge weapons and stuff. There's a lot of things you can do. So you pick up these things called like cryptograph things, and you take them over to this guy off on the right-hand side of the screen, and he will like decode them for you, I guess is what he calls it. And you'll get these new weapons that are usually better than what you had before, new weapons or armor or something. I personally like getting new sniper rifles out of it, but that's just me. I love their snipers in this game. The only thing I think that was kind of poorly designed was the shotguns. They need to have a faster fire rate and less absolutely horrible damage drop-off. So shotguns are fairly useless in this game, in my opinion. They're fun to play with, especially if you're just slaying lower level enemies. They're kind of fun to play with, but all this newer stuff that they got, it's just better. The sniper rifles is pretty much all I will run with, maybe a fusion rifle. They all do these different things. There's like 4 different kinds of heavy, or 4 different kinds of secondary weapons, and a couple of different kinds of primary weapons. Burst rifles is exactly what it sounds like. It's a burst mode rifle, and you can buy all this kind of stuff in the shop. There's a shop there as well, but all of those weapons are far inferior to what you'll find in the field. So unless you specifically want like a hand cannon or something for this next mission, I would never go to the shop. I've literally never used it once. I bought a rocket launcher there one time, and that was about it. And to be honest, it was completely obsolete within the next 2 to 3 levels I was playing, so I found that to be kind of, you know, well, why did I buy this in the first place? So I mean, it was useful. Rocket launchers are great. Don't get me wrong there, but I mean, it's just, why did I spend my money on this when it kind of sucks? Anyway, so there's that. And the best armor that you'll get just given to you is if you go down after you complete a couple of campaign missions. Every now and then you'll be able to go downstairs into this main area. It's like a circle of elders or something. There's a person for every class. There's a Titan dude, there's a Warlock dude, and there's a Hunter dude. So I'll walk up to the Hunter dude and be like, hey bro, what's up? Give me my armor. I just completed a campaign mission. And he'll be like, hey bro, pick one of these pieces. You get to have any one of these you want. And he'll give you one of them. And they're usually these really strong pieces of gear that you wouldn't normally normally have access to even on the field yet, and you won't have access to that level of gear that he gives you for another level or two. So you get something that's far above where you are. You can boost your defense. And these other stats that you have these other tiny stats that are like sub-stats, you could call it. You have 3 levels of stats, sort of. You have your base character stats, which is like armor, recovery time, and the thing is, that's not an absolute. Nothing in this game is actually an absolute, and that's where a lot of people get really confused about with all the stats and stuff that you have to worry about. So your basic class stats are how efficient you are for the number that you have. So let's say your attack is 200. Well, let's say the bar that you have for your attack stat is only up by a little bit. And I believe it's called impact, actually, on your weapon. It's only up a little bit. That's saying your minimum, that's saying how close the minimum damage you can do is to your attack stat. It's not saying your attack is that. It's kind of weird. You have to look at one stat to understand another. Anyway, so when you have like almost full armor stat on your character, that's saying that, oh, the armor that you have there is really efficient, so you're going to have almost 100% protection. But if your armor bar is super low, like on a hunter, hunters do not have a lot of armor, and I don't believe warlocks do either. Only titans really have a lot of armor and recovery time, but they're really low on agility, so that's saying that if you look at how much armor you've got, you're only utilizing 10% of that number or something like that. So you're not using actually all of your armor and stuff. So depending on the stats of your character, you'll have different amounts of speed, recovery time, and how much armor you've got and how efficient you're being with that. I actually think the hunter's recovery time is fine despite the fact that it's the worst in the game. So that's my personal opinion. I think it's fine, but I guess that titans who have ridiculous recovery time, it just must be like you never die because you have infinite amounts of health or something. Anyway, the other types of stats, there's gun stats as well, so you'll have like attack power, and sometimes you can even upgrade attack power on your weapons depending on the type of weapon, green weapons and blue weapons, and even, I believe, legendary weapons. I've never had one, but I think they can all be upgraded, so that in that way you can get like higher level stuff on it. You can get like little tiny perks like, oh, your grenade cooldown is lower, your throwing knife cooldown is lower, your recovery time is lower, all that stuff, so you get all these nice little buffs or something, or like when you get a critical headshot, you reload faster. They have so many of these little types of buffs, and it's totally random on different types of armor. And when you break down armor and weapons and stuff, you can get little pieces of items to upgrade other armor and other weapons. So breaking down stuff not only gives you a little bit of money, actually, not a ton, usually like 15 to 25 or something, not very much. It's called glimmer, by the way. I am fabulous when my money is called glimmer. It's not a dollar bill, guys, it's a glimmer, get it right. Anyway, so there's a whole bunch of stuff to this game, and once you get to level 20, getting past level 20 is probably the hardest thing you'll ever experience in any video game. Basically, you have to go find certain pieces of armor and weapons that have these things called light on them. I actually haven't even gotten that far yet. I just know how it works. One of my friends is already there. But basically, you have to go find these pieces of armor, and you want to line up 2 things, depending on the class you are. So say I'm a hunter. I want a substat called discipline. Discipline is what makes it so I can throw my grenade and I think my throwing knife more. I think it's, actually, no, it's just my grenade. Strength makes it so you can do your throwing knife thing a bit more, whatever thing you have, like, bound to that, I guess. If you're a different class, I guess you have something different, but for me it's a throwing knife. So if I get more strength, say strength plus 45, I'll be able to use my throwing knife more often. If I get my discipline up, I'll be able to use my grenade more often, and hunters are much more useful with their grenades. They have really, really nice grenades that they can use. So then you can get all these substats. So what you want to line up is something with a good stat. So say like you want a plus 200 defense item, then you want to get discipline if you're a hunter. So I'm going to go and get a bunch of discipline, but then you also want to have a lot of light, and you do not want to replace your item until you get something that has better in all 3 of those stats. You want something with higher light and higher discipline and higher actual defense stat. Now often you don't have to worry about the defense stat because once you're at a higher level, you'll be finding higher level defense stat things anyway, so that's usually not something you have to worry about. But if you find, say, let's say you have a level 12 item, so something that has 12 light, let's put it that way, 12 light, and then and it has, say, 45 discipline. But then you find another one and it has 55 strength and it has 13 light. You still don't want to take it because you may be losing a light, but you don't want strength. You want discipline, so you want to find the right one, and it can take hours, if not days and weeks, to find the right item. So this game is very expansive, and it wants you to keep playing. And then once you get to legendary items, that's actually far beyond my realm of knowledge right now, but something tells me you have to do something very, very similar to that. Anyway, it's a very in-depth game, and I hope you guys enjoyed this commentary. It's very long, I know, I was just sort of going off my head here, but hope you guys enjoyed it. Please rate, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Shadowlance, out.